Hey team, I am going to give a quick description here of what the long-term idea is for the desking platform. Understand that we are having some initial development on it and want to give an idea of what this is going to look like in the significant future, so we can start developing consistent with this dream. Okay. So, one of the ways that I'm going to approach this is by the assumption that we are going to have two general types of desking, right? One of them is going to be consistent with a one-person store, meaning that the salesperson is the one who negotiates the deal. They're the one who they essentially do the manager of the sale. They do the job of the sales manager and the salesperson. So they're actually just speaking directly with that customer about price, negotiation, that type of thing. The second type is going to be a more traditional approach, and that is the manager is going to be using the manager dashboard to send pencils to the tablet that the salesperson has. So here are the important features for the one person, one price store. One of this, I put them in a few sections. One's full negotiation, meaning they should be able to have soft credit pulls from the iPad on the actual price negotiation screen. They should have a customizable APR on the iPad. Just like it is on Wizard, they need to be able to have a default money factor markup. That is something that would be done actually through Chairman, which I'll touch on in a second. They need to very easily be able to access special rates, rebates, dealer cash as standalone options to apply or to not apply to specific deals, and just have a list of all of those deals that are to apply or to not apply on the tablet. They should be able to, we need to add trade payoff and price being editable in the Papyrus price negotiation tab. If a salesperson is editing the pencil, if the salesperson is editing the pencil on Papyrus, then they should not allow the manager to edit the same pencil while that they're currently editing, meaning that the manager technically still can go on Chairman, send something out to the salesperson, but it should show up as an additional pencil as opposed to a as opposed to like editing the one that they're currently on. So there needs to be also a history of the pencils that are done, which we'll get into later. Next, this next section is Chairman. We need to allow managers to put together a default pencil. Everything that is customizable in the Chairman also needs to be customizable for the first pencil. So money factor, APR, everything needs to be able to have an ability to preset that on the back end for that managers can then disseminate to the entire sales staff. Next, we need to allow managers to have the ability to set limits to the amount that users are able to discount, meaning that salespeople need to be able to discount the price, but managers can say you are only allowed to discount $500, you are only allowed to discount $1,000, or you are not able to discount at all. Same thing if they just have a ridiculous APR that they put in there, even though it's not going to be too changeable. We just need to be able to set limits on certain pieces of the negotiation process here. But we also need managers to be able to bypass that somehow. So if it's the end of the month and they just need to sell one more vehicle to hit their quota, and it's the difference between $100,000, they are going to give that car away. They're going to give a very good deal for that vehicle. Next is schema. The section is schema. We need to add trade payoff and trade vehicles trade vehicle price into the schema. And this should also be inputted into the desking platform and also be editable through the desking platform and inputted into the calculation of price, as I mentioned earlier. Next is we need to populate the end numbers, meaning price, discount, tax, etc., into the schema so that they can be pre-populated into the forms library and into, you know, like a summary sheet at the end of the deal for the salesperson and the customer. Next is the actual desking negotiation piece. Carvana has some really interesting logic where they actually say, hey, we have to make, you know, $1,000 a vehicle, just as example. But we know we're going to make money on the loan. We know we are going to make money on the back end. We know we are going to make money on the front end of the vehicle. We know we're going to make money on all these places. So they take all of that net calculation into account to back into the term, the APR, the actual price of the vehicle, right? So we need to be able to put gross profit into play. And I know Carvana does a really good job on this. They're actually mobile interface. And just choose one vehicle and interact with it. It's a really, really interesting UI, and also Micaiah was the one who did bring this out to me, so do ask him or myself, this is Eric, any questions about how that might look, if that's going to affect anything. Next is we want to save records of the pencil on Papyrus, so if somebody comes in the next day, I could see the numbers that they did want or that they didn't want when they came in last. Okay, so that's kind of the dream feature list of the in-store platform, or the one-person platform, and now we're going to go into some of the specifics of the just normal back-and-forth negotiation process with the manager giving the pricing to the salesperson presenting it to the customer. So we also need to have soft pulls available on Chairman for this. The default also needs to be represented on, in Chairman, so that the first pencil can just automatically be sent out, and we can also bypass manager intervention just for the first pencil if that is relevant. And we also would like to have the salesperson and customer be able to send a counter offer back to Chairman from the iPad, right? So this way I can say, hey, the deal that you just gave me, I don't like that one. Well, then the salesperson can say, hey, well, what would you do? And then they can enter in information on that desking platform right in front of them, and then that will then get sent to the manager. They can say, okay, I can't do this, or okay, I can't do this, or even give a better idea of where that salesperson needs to be. Next, this next section is all platforms. So these are pieces that are consistent between both platforms that we need to have. We'd like to have a final deal sheet printout, meaning that once they do agree on numbers in either circumstance, then they can print that final deal sheet out, so they can either enter it into the DMS, give it to the customer, give it to the F&I team, whatever it may be. Next is all ending numbers need to be pre-populated into the schema. I did mention this, but we do need to add a significant amount of additional fields into the schema so that we can pre-populate everything. Next is we need to be able to add power users with different permissions, negotiating power. So maybe most dealerships have a few people that are old vets, meaning that they've been in the industry for 10 years. They're very trusted by the dealership. They understand how to get the best deal from the customer. They really understand how things are done, and they have the ability to negotiate $1,000 down, but brand new salespeople only have the ability to negotiate $250 down or $500 down before they have to get a manager involved, right? So having different levels of user is very important for new salespeople and salespeople who have been in the industry for some time. Next, having preset template for accessories and add-ons. So instead of us having to type in hey, we have gap insurance here, putting hey, we need gap insurance and tire and wheel protection, and typing that in manually. Actually having preset where it says tire and wheel with the price and cost, and then be able to add that with a single click, or even being able to add certain menu options, right? So being able to say, hey, judging by this person's past driving history, they would like these 3 products. Click on that, and then it would automatically add that into the price of the vehicle without having to actually manually type everything in. Next, should have access to make a preset first pencil for the management team through chairman, and that's easily accessible. Tax rates need to be automatically calculated based on zip code. So each county has a different tax rate, right? So for all of Alabama, it's 3.9% tax or sales tax. But if you go to Georgia, each county specifically has different tax rates. So we need to be able to automatically input that so that this information calculates correct. Next, need to be able to limit the amount of salesperson negotiation. So same thing that I mentioned. This is power users. And also sort of like limitations like maxing, you can only negotiate so much, adding trade information, and having chairman populate all numbers into the pencil. That is all the general features that we can think about. Other than that, one more, ideally we'd have a DMS integration, so we'd be able to push all this information over to the DMS. I think that will come a little bit later. And then also we do need to look into Route 1 e-contracting. We can actually send this information to Route 1, and then Route 1 either can integrate with the DMS for us or have all of our paperwork digital, and then it'll send over to Route 1 and then do most of the paperwork online. So that could be a really powerful partnership for us. So that's what I got for you. Please clarify with Eric or Micaiah if you'll have any more questions. That's it. Thank you.